Good morning. Me and Maggie are here pumping out some milk. And Bruce, I don't know if he's actually helping. He just wants his breakfast. This is Bruce. I want to just say straight off the start of this video that a little while ago now we actually lost our boar Stan. It really knocked me, you know. He was such an awesome pig. He had great lines. I don't think we ever had a bad piglet out of Stan. It's actually at the point now where the sow has had Stan's piglets and Stan is no longer here, so we are really tossing up what to do, whether to keep the only boar that is in that litter. It wasn't a great labour for that sow. She, in labour, I wasn't able to be there, and a lot of them stayed in, I say a lot of them, probably 3 of the piglets stayed in the sac, in the placenta, and sort of 3 were squashed, and it just wasn't a very good labour. So she had 13, she birthed 13, and we have 5 left. So that's one of our worst litters of piglets, but they're all beautiful and strong now, and there is only 1 boar, the rest are female. So we are tossing up. He's a good boar, he's got great markings, but we're tossing up whether to keep him and look for another sow to continue our lines. I like the Wessex Saddleback Berkshire cross because it does give a really good meat, but I'm not restricting us to that either. We can try Duroc or another breed of pig. So we're just looking into that. I would probably steer towards Duroc because of the colour. They have good body structure and good meat, but I would like to steer towards them for the colour. I look at not only the meat value of the pigs, but I also look at the marketability of the pigs, because we only keep we only keep 1 piglet or 2 piglets out of each litter, and the rest we do sell. So I do take that into consideration, I guess, when I'm looking at breeding stock. I want something that's easy to market, easy to sell. So there's that. We still have our same sow, but we've never just had 1 pig. We've always had the 3. So now Stan's gone, so we've just got the 1 sow, and she's just had her piglets. So she's doing really well. She is getting a little bit old. You know, I have that in the back of my mind, that she's got plenty of litters left in her, if you like, but she is not a spring chicken. She's getting a little bit old, so I do look to that when I say look for another sow and keep that boar. I'd still keep Skinny, the main sow, the main mum, but we may also look for another sow in the long term. This lifestyle, it's a tricky one. It's, you know, it's not very common, and people, you know, sort of think you're a bit crazy. I think when you when you tell them what's happening, what's going on, you know, when you're losing pigs and you're milking cows, and it doesn't really come naturally to Dom and I, to be honest. And so that, you know, when things happen, it does knock me a little bit, because there's not really a great support network. You know, not everybody has pigs, not everybody's milking cows, not everybody's raising chickens, you know what I mean? So it does knock me, ow, stop doing that. It does knock me a little bit when things happen, but I take a lot of refuge, if you like. It's not really the right word. I take a lot of inspiration and comfort, I guess, from fellow people on YouTube, believe it or not. And that's why I think it's really important that I keep showing up to YouTube and keep filming things, because if you do want to do this, and I've had so many people say, I would love to do that one day, I would love to provide food for my family, I'd love to be on the land. I get so many people say that to me. I think it's important that I show up. I think it's important that I keep putting up YouTube videos, because when I have tough times. Like I lose a main breeding animal that, you know, was a friend, you know, that you visit them every day, you feed, you water them, you check their body condition, you make sure that they're healthy. They're a friend to you, you know what I mean? So when you lose one, it can really knock you. And so when I see other people on YouTube that have hard times, that really makes me think, you know, it's okay. I heard a really great saying the other day, where there's livestock, there's dead stock, and I can vouch for that. Wow. That's the hardest part, is where there is livestock, there is dead stock, and you have to deal with that, and you have to show up every morning, and if something does pass away, you have to get rid of that animal. And yeah, I take a lot of comfort in other YouTube channels, so I think it's important that I keep showing up. So I'm going to do my best to keep you guys updated and encourage you guys to also grow your own food, because as crazy as this makes me feel, I know I'm doing it for the right reasons. It's better for my family, and as long as I watch the budget, it can be a lot cheaper. You know, I think if we were to buy groceries, we would easily be spending $600 on groceries a week, easily. We're spending on average $150 to $200 a week on groceries, and I think that's awesome. I'm really proud of us to be doing that. You know, we do spend money on animal feed. You need to take that into consideration when I say I'm saving money on our feed. We are buying animal feed, but currently I'm only feeding chickens and this cow. Hey, that's it. Chickens, I buy a bit of grain. I got to watch how many chickens I have, because I tend to get a bit crazy. But I can sell them too and make money back. But this cow is probably the most expensive thing on the farm. Right now I haven't had to buy pig food for a while, but normally I would be buying pig food. I only have one pig, so she's pretty much just living off table scraps, Maggie's milk, and a little bit of other grain that we get, spent grain from the brewery. So not looking too bad. But I guess if you don't have animals, you probably don't realize how much animal feed costs. So that's something to definitely take into consideration if you want to save money on your food bill. You still have to feed your animals, but what I do is I gravitate towards things that are grass-fed, because grass is something that certain times of the year we have in abundance. So, you know, sheep and rabbits, definitely. The cow does eat a lot of grass. And then we're just managing the chicken with a little bit of grain. They're all free range, so they do get, you know, 10 or 20% of their feed a day from free ranging. And the pig, we also like to free range our pigs on our bush area, our forest area. So she will get a lot of worms and bugs and things that she can eat, and roots from foraging. And again, that's like 10 to 20% of her feed if I rotate her enough. Right now she's in the farrowing pen with her new piglets, so she's not foraging, but I am moving that pig pen around as well so that she can eat the grass and forage a little bit as well. So definitely gravitating towards, if you are looking to start, grass-fed animals. So definitely rabbits are great grass-fed animals. I do feed a little bit of oats and barley, just a really small amount, just to keep them nutritionally balanced, but they mainly get hay scraps and grass and just waste vegetables that I grow. And the sheep are really great too. Sheep are great foragers. I don't feed them anything. I've never fed my sheep anything. Occasionally they take some chicken food, which isn't great for them, but they're grass fed, and they just have grass and water, and we can eat the lamb and sustain ourselves. So yeah, this cow's definitely a luxury for us. She gives us a lot of milk. She gives us 2 calves a year, 2 meat calves a year, and heaps of manure for our garden. So with the whole circle, you know, the full circle sort of farming that we're doing, she's definitely worth it for us. But if you were just getting milk, it would be cheaper just to go to the shop to get milk. But, you know, if you're growing meat calves, if you're doing a lot of gardening, one house cow is very valuable. Maple. Hi, honey. Are you ready to come in?
No.
Come on then. Where's Reg? He's given up. You ready? Come on. Ready for breakfast? Come on. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, these chickens are in our original garden plot. As you can see, it's very overgrown. We've got that whole plot, and then they've got the green tunnel to sort through as well. These guys, yeah, they're mainly eating the grass and the weeds and scratching around and finding all the worms and things, and really just weeding this veggie garden for me. And then I give them a small amount of just a balanced pellet, and I just throw it out really thin, so they really have to pick through, disturb the weeds and the grass, and dig up all the the grass and the weeds that I don't want in there, because this is the original garden plot. And so I usually do these guys have been in here for maybe a week now, and I usually keep them in here from the start of autumn right through the winter time, and then they're manuring and getting rid of all that vegetation, and then I will come through with compost. And sometimes if there's still a lot of weeds left, this is quite a big plot for this amount of chickens. This is only half my flock. The rest are back in the paddock, which I do plan to bring over. But if there is still a lot of grass, I will put a black tarp down just to kill the weed seeds and the grass, and then come through and pile on compost ready for the spring, summer vegetables that I'm going to grow in here. But yeah, these guys are just to forage in here and manure the ground and really just disturb those weeds. They've made a pretty good start so far. Last year I didn't have this garden this bad. This is the worst I've had this garden as far as grass goes. I have a lot of trouble in this garden with the grass coming in through this fence. In the new veggie garden plot, we don't have any fences close to the veggie garden, so we don't need to keep the grass from leaching in through a fence. So what I normally do is dig a big channel, like a big trench, and then mulch it so the grass doesn't leach in. But as you can see, the grass is just crazy. It just takes over. So this is as bad as it's been. So we'll see how they go. We'll see how the chickens go. That grass house, it is a grass house at the moment. That greenhouse is a lot easier to get all the weeds out. It's got better soil. But again, because, I didn't really have anything to go off, so we just built this shade mesh tunnel. We didn't put any barrier down here, so all the grass leaches in. And so we have created a new garden plot, and moving forward, we're taking that into consideration if we ever do any more polytunnels or any sort of shade mesh tunnels, which are fantastic. They're great to either shade your vegetables, or in the case of a polytunnel, which is plastic, you can regulate the water a lot better. You can water vegetables when you want to water them, and some vegetables don't like their leaves getting wet, so you can water just at the roots and not have to worry about the rain. We're not quite there yet. We don't need that sort of setup at the moment, but with our new vegetable garden plot, we are taking into consideration that the grass does just take over. A lot of the time when the grass takes over, I actually lose the crop because I can't find it, or it gets smothered and won't grow. In the case of potatoes and garlic, which I'll show you in a minute, if the grass gets in, you do lose the crop. So I've had garlic harvests that I couldn't find and that stopped growing because they didn't have enough room because the grass just took over. So it's really important to learn from that and take into consideration that we need to get the grass out of the garden beds. This garden was absolutely crazy tall, like over my head, with weeds and also vegetables that I didn't realize were still in there. But there were actually rock melons in there. The chickens have eaten the ones that are in there. You can sort of see there's some pumpkin or squash vines still growing in there. But there was a lot of rock melons in there, and the chickens got to them before I could because I couldn't see them. I didn't even realize they were in there. So that's good to know that we had rock melons this year. We just couldn't harvest them. This bed here, I've got parsnips mainly. The zinnias are still hanging in there. No, they're dahlias, sorry. The dahlias are still hanging in there. And there's some really random squash plants that I should probably pull out, but they do have flowers on them. And they do have little baby yellow zucchinis on them. There's one there. I don't really think I'll get much out of them. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm going to leave them there anyway, just because, you know, I want to see when they get knocked out. I want to see how long they last for until the really cold temperatures knock them out. I've started a few snow peas along that trellis there. I've never really had much luck with snow peas, to be honest with you, but I always try and just throw a few in there and just give them a crack. You never know. Okay, so the potato, onion and garlic bed. This year I've also got shallots and leeks in there. This is it. So you can see there's a big dirt path right here, then the veggie garden, and this I'm calling this year the patchwork veggie garden because I got a bit sick of going in straight lines. My mum's quilts are very amazing. I'm lucky enough to have a few of those, and I took inspiration from that for this garden. So hopefully, they're away on holidays, but hopefully when they get back and they see this garden in full swing, it will look like a bit of a patchwork. That's the plan anyway. So early starter potatoes, they're just our potatoes that we grew and didn't eat from last season. We've got onions and more onions, so red and brown onions, just storing onions basically. Lots of garlic that hasn't come up yet. Garlic, leeks. And then here again, I had some vines just pop up. I'm pretty sure they're rock melons as well, so we'll see how they go. You can see there's some rock melons on there. We'll see how they go. And there's some more self-seeded or volunteer potato plants in the back. This has always been potato, onion and garlic, this bed, because it's not fenced. So the wildlife tend to come in and eat things if they're not fenced here. So this is mainly those three crops because the wildlife don't eat them. And again, there's some more squash plants and some tomato plants popping up, which once the cold knocks them out, which they're a spring summer crop, so once the cold knocks them out, I will take them out and plant more potatoes. I don't mind not getting all the potatoes in at once. It doesn't really fuss me. It doesn't really bother me much, but there's not actually any potatoes for sale where I live yet. There's no seed potatoes. So you would have to buy potatoes and let them start to grow and then plant them. Yeah, like I said, these potatoes are from our own crops last year. So that's why they're in quite early and they're growing quite early. I plan to grow a ton more potatoes, onions and garlic. We go through so much of that. And when you're only eating your own vegetables, to have those things to fall back on is really good. I mean, they're not expensive in the shops, so I can buy them within our budget, you know, but to have those growing successfully when, you know, I'm not preserving as much as what people might think. I just generally like to eat straight from the garden, so our diet is very seasonal. Because once you start preserving things, unless it's fermented, when you start preserving things, you knock out the nutrition because you're killing the bacteria to be able to put them on the shelf and store them. You're knocking out a lot of the important things that come in vegetables. So I actually try and steer away from preserving vegetables. Also, it takes a lot of equipment and it takes a lot of my time to preserve things. if I'm preserving things, it's more to overwinter us or get us through seasons. You know, I'll dehydrate vegetables just in case we don't have any vegetables in the garden. I can fall back on them, but I do like to just eat from the veggie garden. And so far so good. I think when you have meat, if you have onions, garlic and potato, you can do a lot with just those things instead of eating fresh vegetables all the time. That's really what we fall back on. But we do also have vegetables coming out of the garden all the time. So, and you know, it's not end of days. It's not, you know, the Great Depression or anything like that. I can still go to the shop if I need to. And that's why for me, it's so valuable to do this, because I can fall back on the shops and the local growers to be able to support my family. So it's not dire if I don't grow my own vegetables. But again, this is the veggie garden plot. So these big channels of path to stop the grass from growing in. And then we're farming more in a market style garden now. So I'm breaking the plots down into smaller rows so that I can manage them a little bit better. And that's only just happened. I've only just started to do that. So right here is a good example of, there's 2 trenches and the crops will grow on the bed. That means I can focus my energies on putting compost on a section of each veggie garden bed and keep turning it over and growing it like that. So there's the end of the flowers. We've got leeks up the front, carrots, beetroots, chard, more carrots, radishes, little beetroots, celery, capsicum, shallots. I've still got plenty of tomatoes at the back there on the trellises, and then all the cauliflowers, the broccolis and the cabbages are all under these sheets, being protected from the bugs. And then under the tree there's a few more flowers and lettuce growing. So everything's growing quite well, and we are harvesting plenty. This is the more annual one that we don't replace so often, which is just flowers. There's a lot of herbs in there and a lot of berries in there. So it's all pumping, it's all going good, but definitely just trying to keep the grass out as best we can. And we definitely do have quite a large garden, even though it's not the spring summer. I think a lot of the time people think that you can't grow very well in the winter time. We're lucky enough to have quite a mild winter. We're on top of a hill and we live quite close to the coastline, so we have very mild weather here, and so we can grow pretty much all year round. I've had tomatoes growing into the winter. We don't really get frost too bad, so it's definitely pumping. Veggie garden's still pumping. Winter is definitely a time for doing jobs for us and getting on top of garden beds and infrastructure on the farm. The sun is now a little high in the sky for good camera shots, so bear with me. I'm in the veggie garden. I've had great success with these row covers. They're fairly inexpensive from hardware stores that stock like Bunnings, like a bigger chain store. Maybe nurseries have them too, but I've had some really good success. I've got this white one. It just keeps out all bugs. And I also play around with this black one, which keeps out bugs, flying bugs mainly. Yeah, when the pest pressures are a little too high and wiping out my veggies, I just lay them over. In particular, in the autumn time and into the winter time, when I'm putting in a lot of brassicas like kales and cabbages and cauliflowers and things like that the pests really like. I just cover them up and it protects them really well. Thanks, Eddie. It also holds in moisture, which helps with germination. Up until this point, I've really only either put plant starts in the ground or direct sown vegetables, which the plant starts, for the most part, I buy because our glass house is only still getting finished. And so I don't actually do a lot of plant starts at the moment. But direct sown it's going okay. The carrots really don't mind. The beetroots, the silver beet, all those things germinate quite well. It's just my kales and my lettuces and my herbs that,
Mum.
thank you, gorgeous boy, just leave it there, that don't germinate quite as consistently. I still get good germination, but it's a little bit patchy and it makes the veggie garden look a little patchy. If I could show you here, you can sort of see there's some herbs and some kale, but it's very patchy. And so I do plan to make, did you want to say hi, Ed? Did you want to say hi?
Hi.
Good boy. I do plan to start more plant starts and then transfer them into the garden just to get a nice consistent spread of the actual veggie garden, rather than putting the seeds into the ground and having some not germinate and it looking a little patchy. But there are certain things that definitely are fine to direct. So my flowers have gone really well. Normally I have great success with corn, and then things like carrots, beetroots, radishes, I generally don't have much issue just direct sowing them into the soil. But there's certain things, obviously all my brassicas are plant starts. I don't direct sow them. I did direct sow a few just to play around, but you're right, Walt. You're chopping the tomato up with the axe. You're funny.
Now we'll go, Walt.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at in the veggie garden. But I just wanted to say I've had really great success with these row covers. I use them a lot, and the birds and the bugs really leave the vegetables alone, and it also helps with retaining some moisture to germinate seeds. When you do start seeds, it's very important to keep the soil wet, moist, not too wet, until you see the seeds germinate, and then back off a little bit with the water. It's more affordable to start things from seeds. 500 seeds or 50 seeds is $1.20, as opposed to a plant start with 6 little starts is $6 for me on average. So it's a lot cheaper to start things from seed, and that's why I want to get the glass house up and running so I can do my own seed starts, which is, you're just putting 1 or 2 seeds into a dirt container cell and sprouting them, and then transferring them from that into the garden, just so you can guarantee germination. If you do it this way, it's a bit, up in the air how many germinate. But yeah, keeping the soil really moist when you first put your seeds in is very important for germination. Then once they sprout, you back off the watering a little bit and allow them to grow. So these shade mesh really help with keeping the moisture in. I'm just out here with Maggie. It's the next morning. Me and Bruce, the cat, getting some milk. And I'm scraping off this concrete slab, which I used to do with a hose, and now I just do with a shovel because wasting water is completely unnecessary. And I'm just sort of looking around and seeing all this beautiful black manured soil. And that's what it is. It's mixed with hay, it's manured. Maggie sort of stirs it with her feet, and I'm just thinking how dark the color is, and how easily the bugs populate it. And I'm thinking, I've never lived on a property where the soil is good to grow in. I've always lived in sort of bushy properties that haven't been pasture improved. And so this looks like happiness to me, you know what I mean? Like, it looks like soil already to me because it's so dark and lush. And I just thought, isn't that funny? Like, obviously, I've never lived somewhere where the soil is already like that. We did rent in a place called Camberwarra for a year, and I wasn't able to grow a garden because it was a rental. So I've always just lived on really sandy sandstone soil. So just a funny thing that looking at the manured dirt and mixed with hay, and it just sort of makes me happy because I know it's future vegetables and nutrition for my family. So it's a random one. Thank you so much for coming along and spending time with me and hanging out with me. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Thank you.